Good morning. I'm the Detective Sergeant that looks after the family violence area for the Canterbury Police. Sorry. And I operate out of the Papanui Police Station. We pretty much cover the area from Yalhurst Road right around to South Shore, and also that area comes under Rangiora and Kaiapoi. The Canterbury Family Violence team is effectively led by Inspector Ross Lynette. He oversees a number of areas within the Canterbury Police, but inclusive of that is the Canterbury Police Family Violence team. Under him is Detective Senior Sergeant Leanne Dow, and from there we move down effectively to the various work groups. At North Canterbury there's Senior Constable Chris Hurring. He's involved very much through the Kaiapoi and Rangiora areas. He's been out there for several years in that role and has a very good local knowledge of sort of what is occurring out there. Northern Family Violence is myself and a team of 3, and we cover also North Canterbury and take Chris Hurring under our wing. We've recently merged our Southern Family Violence team that operated out of the Beckenham station, and they've moved into Central and very much cover the Central City right through to the Port Hills, Akaroa and around to the Selwyn district. Mike Freeman has just recently been appointed as the Detective Sergeant that has taken over that role. Out of Central we also have Pegeen O'Rourke Harris, who a number of you will know, who's our Family Violence Intervention Coordinator. She also is very active with the Family Violence Round Table that meets every Wednesday, which she'll talk to shortly. Police Safety Team, that's under the direction now of Detective Sergeant Ash Millen. It was Jim Soul that a number of you probably were aware of, and they operate with 3 members of police and 6 advocates, and also have a child, youth and family employee in their mix. There's the Family Violence Clerk, Sue Bartholomew. She very much looks after disclosure requests for family violence matters that might be going through court processes where solicitors or lawyers acting for children and applications for custody matters, etc., and disclosure requests in regards to that. And Mid-South Canterbury, Jim Soul's been seconded down there for a period to work through Ashburton, etc. What do the police family violence teams do? Well, very much we're responsible for the overview of family violence reported into the police system within the Canterbury area. We very much have a knowledge of who are our repeat frequent flyers that keep coming back through, and it's up to us to monitor them as well as the overall risk associated with them. Our roles very much involve processing daily polls. A lot of you here will be familiar with polls, but for those that aren't, a poll is a standard 5 to 6 page police form. It's completed by attending police in any domestic violence reported incident. It contains the details of the parties involved in the domestic violence incident, witnesses, and then sets out ultimately the circumstances of the incident reported, whether it's assault, a verbal dispute, whether it's between de facto or marital parties, children, siblings. In addition to that, there are a number of other details that are collected within that form. Part of that is when it involves marital or de facto parties, etc., with regards to intimate partner violence, and there's a number of tick boxes there which highlight risk factors associated around the particular incident. There's also incidents where if a child is either the victim or subject of a witness to serious family violence, that's covered. And there's an ADARA, and again, ADARA some of you will be familiar with, but it's a Canadian-based risk assessment. It contains 13 standard generic questions. You either score a 0 or a 1 in regards to those, but the key to us is that it gives us a reasonable indication as to the likelihood of reoccurrence of family violence occurring between those parties. When we work through those polls, we conduct a thorough risk assessment on everyone that is taken and reported into the police system. That risk assessment comes down to interrogating the police intelligence system as to looking and researching about parties' previous convictions. Those convictions obviously that relate to breaching protection orders, male assaults, female and serious assaults involving their partners are crucial to us as far as giving a steer as to the likelihood and risk. In addition to that, there is also a record of all the previous family violence reports. We have a number that are in excess of 100 family violence reports for certain couples. Once we've gone through and assessed the risk, and I mean some of those risk factors will include if alcohol's involved and it agitates the situation, removing cell phones and that so their partner can't call for help, locking them in rooms and various things that all becomes part of the risk factor. Those polls are distributed usually within the first couple of hours of each morning through to the respective agencies that follow up. We send them electronically to Women's Refuge through BWT. They go to SIFs. Certainly in addition to the SIFs where a child has either been the subject of serious family violence or has been a witness to it, there is a child protection team form completed that's forwarded to Child, Youth and Family and to the child protection team for assessment. There's also the risk of concern reports, which are a slightly lower level, which is more down to sort of the welfare and the looking after of children, whether they're being kept clean and tidy, attending school, and whether there's any concerns there. We also feed those risk assessments into the gang liaison officer at the police. They're also forwarded off to victim support and various other support agencies that may need to have a knowledge of what's occurring. We run the FVAR meetings every Thursday where we deal with effectively 15 to 20 family violence incidents from the previous week. It's a meeting held between police, Child, Youth and Family and BWT, and we work through what interventions need to be put in place for those specific 15 or so cases that don't reach the priority of family violence round table on a Wednesday, but certainly need to be looked at. It's criteria based. The family violence round table deals with the top 15 reported incidents, which are your serious assaults, your domestic situations where there may not have been a lot of reported domestic violence, but there are certain circumstances around the specific reported incident which cause real concern. And that might be that people have been together for the best part of 15 years and then their second reported domestic incident involves a weapon being presented, etc. Family violence intervention plans for anyone that becomes a RED victim, which is that they come to our attention within a certain time frame for family violence matters. We put a number of intervention measures in place for those individuals, and those intervention measures are monitored for a period while they are deemed to be a RED victim to ensure that we can create an environment that's safe for the victim of those. Some of those interventions involve us liaising with probation where people are on community sentence and seek non-association orders with their partners and some restrictive conditions, and they are very effective. We provide investigative support to both the CIB and group staff. Group staff are flat out these days. There's been an 18% increase in the number of family violence incidents reported in the last 12 months to the Canterbury Police. The human resourcing behind that hasn't increased to the same extent, which is certainly an issue. So we try to assist by going out and taking statements of complaints. If the victim of the family violence calls us for assistance that night, we attend. We may serve a PSO order on the mail, which means that he has to remove himself from the address for a period of up to 5 days. The female victim, if she is the victim, may not be willing to actually make a complaint at that point in time. We will actually go and spend time with her the next day and see if she will come forward and make a complaint. Advisor of the support agencies and the efforts that we can go to wrap things around her to make sure that she actually feels comfortable coming forward to making a complaint and following the matter through. Also deal with medical examinations. We do quite a bit of liaison with the DSAC clinic and Dr. Claire Healy there through strangulation incidents and domestic violence situations, and that's becoming more and more common in reported domestic incidents, and we're getting some very, very good results through following up the medical examinations through there. Obviously we cover off getting the victims photographed and gathering additional evidence to bulk up some of the cases because the group staff are very much sort of running hot with regards to attending on the next shift another series of domestic incidents. Those investigations will assist with the preparation for court. We try to avoid getting involved in the hands-on arrests ourselves because our role is far more important in coordinating and ensuring that those files are put together at such a standard that we can secure a successful prosecution or conviction at the end of the court process. We'll also facilitate where there is child victims or witnesses, evidential interviews of those so that we can actually assess the evidence that they can produce later on. So that's something that I think is not perhaps considered enough, that children are pretty astute, they're fully aware what's going on, and some of them can be very, very beneficial witnesses, particularly if the incident is serious enough to warrant putting them through the stress of court evidence. Targeting of family violence offenders. We will target family violence offenders, and there's various ways of doing that. Alcohol is a significant factor with regards to a number of the family violence incidents that we get. Some of our perpetrators are regular EBA or drink driving people who drive while disqualified, and it's very easy to put them through to our traffic unit and have them targeted and get them arrested, prosecuted on drink driving, which allows us to put some restrictive conditions on them, but it's coming at an angle removed from the actual victim or the female actually having to come forward and get involved in trying to protect the situation. Information sharing is a big thing with us. We're in regular contact with the refuges, Ministry of Health, Child, Youth and Family and other agencies, sharing information, because what gets reported into the police isn't necessarily the whole package of what is available. We also very much sort of a liaison point through those agencies. Probably something that we don't get enough time to do, but where we have the most impact, is through our home visits and actually going and seeing some of the victims and actually being able to reinstore some sort of sense of safety and security with those individuals, that we do have the means and ability to steer them into refuge for protection orders. We can put family violence alarms into their properties. We can target individuals that require targeting, and one example that we had which was very beneficial was a particular woman that was having a domestic situation. He came around to her address at 6 in the morning and just about took out every window in the address. She got into refuge. He was arrested and charged. We managed to get him into custody. He pleaded guilty and got a short stint of imprisonment. Due to the victim's mindset with regards to him, believed that he was going to come back to the address, and we put her in a motel for 3 nights and actually had 2 members of police inside the address waiting for him to come back. We kept the address under observations for those 3 nights. Unfortunately, he didn't return, but on the 4th night he went to a hotel where she was with some friends, and he was arrested and charged, back into custody, and we were successfully able to have him on his release, where he wasn't able to live in Christchurch for the first 6 months. And we also actively partake with training. It's more within-house within the police, but training the group staff, keeping them up to date with changes of legislation, some of the tools in the box available to deal with repeat family violence offenders. So that's pretty much what the family violence teams within the police do. Point of contact is pretty common. Just contact your local police station and ask to be put through to the family violence team, and we'll do whatever we can to either provide appropriate advice or assist you. I don't think we have a member here from the family safety team of the police. So just to give you an overview quickly with regards to that, there's quite a separate and distinct difference with the family safety team. The police family safety team, which is now under the charge of Detective Sergeant Ash Millen, operates out of the New Brighton police station. There's 3 police members, 6 advocates, and a child, youth and family employee. They basically deal with anyone who refuses or is very, very reluctant to engage with any other agency to seek assistance. They spend a lot of time going and visiting, building up rapport, trust and faith, and get alongside them, and once that's developed, then start to try and implement interventions and measures to ensure that they either feel safe or can get them to the point where they can actually leave the domestic situation that they're in. It's very much an area where it's medium to long term. Some of the ones have been on the books for 2 years, but in addition to the ones that don't engage and certainly need people in alongside them, it's also the ones that are of extreme risk. And they have a number of people on their books. So there is a distinct difference in the role work that they do, which is long term and very much being in beside the victims, compared to us, where we become a conduit to deal with the immediate reported incident and feed it into the appropriate agencies. So if there's any questions, I'll take them now, or otherwise I'll pass on to Pagino Rourke Harris to talk about her role.